Hello, and welcome, fellow explorers, to the Mystic Lemur. My name is Rita, and it is my honor to be your guide today through the messages in this reading. This is a timeless reading, so whenever these messages find you, there may well be something here for you, and it may be different to what you would have heard a week ago or next week. These are very dynamic processes, and they each affect us in unique ways. So the theme for today, we have the support of these nasturtium flowers here. This is in the energy of the moment at this reading is with the solstice, specifically the summer solstice in the southern hemisphere. And here we're going into the season of Asteya, or non-stealing. So this is one of the limbs of the 10 niyamas and yamas. So there's 5 yamas and 5 niyamas. This is one of the yamas. And this one tells us about basically do only what is yours to do. So we have these nasturtium flowers here, and the medicine of nasturtium, in addition to being edible, and they are quite high in vitamin C, and they're delightfully sour flavor. They have a lot of oxalic acid, so that would give it that little pop. Nice in salads or in sandwiches. And the seeds, I believe, were also pickled and used as preventative against scurvy back in the day. So what these are here for is because they are ruled by fire and by Aries, they're really great at letting us clear out mental energy. So especially when you've been overusing your mind, nasturtiums are really lovely for helping to release that mental blockage and really come back into a sense of being active. So if you've been overusing your mind and you're beginning to feel like ground down because of that overactivity of the mental space, nasturtiums can really help with that. So that really leads us into the question of the reading, which is, what are you holding, or what are you carrying? What is a burden that you might be taking forward with you that really isn't yours to bear? That's, again, in this light of Asteya, or, non-stealing. So Asteya really talks about doing, again, what is only yours to do. So doing what you're competent to do, doing what you've been trained to do, and also doing no more than is really actually yours to do. So it could be in the sense of you may have been taking on extra things, possibly because you felt like you needed to say yes to people please, but really what you meant was no. So definitely falls under the category of saying yes when you really mean no, and also saying no when you really mean yes. So taking on these things that really aren't yours to bear. And also in the sense of if you've sort of jumped in a little bit ahead of the game, maybe you haven't quite gotten all of the skills that you really need to have to be in order to actually do this competently. So it speaks about taking on that learning to be able to do things in a competent manner. So first of all, what are you taking on that you don't need to be taking on? And then, of course, what can you be doing in order to release these things that aren't really yours to carry, aren't your burdens to bear, and come into more of your full authentic self? So we have 3 piles here today, pile 1, pile 2, and pile 3. So coming into finding your most effective message, or your most effective means of being able to receive the messages in this reading would be through settling the mind, settling the emotions, and using your intuitive wisdom to pick the card that may have messages for you. So you can pick more than one pile, of course, and always remember that these are reflections of wherever you are right now. You are always the best expert on what's right for you at this time, so do always please remember to take what resonates and leave what doesn't. Take only what is yours to take. So we have pile 1, pile 2, pile 3. To help you settle into picking your pile, let's go ahead and find our comfortable seated position. It may be seated onto a chair, maybe sitting on a floor, anywhere you can begin to root your sits bones into a sense of finding connection, groundedness with the earth, finding your grounded sensations into the earth, and using that sense of being rooted in to take 3 cycles of mindful breath. Deep inhale, belly breath in, exhaling out. Another deep belly breath in, and exhaling to release. One more big mindful breath in, and release. Now coming to use the wisdom of your intuition to pick your cards. I'll give another couple of seconds to come to your decision, and if you find you need more time than this, please feel free to pause the video. You can jump to the different piles in the timestamps below. All right, once you've made your selection, let's go ahead and get into pile number 1. So I'll move away piles 2 and 3 for just a minute. Okay, pile number 1. What messages do we have for you today about what are you taking on that you don't need to be carrying, and how can you release it to come into more of your full authentic self? So first message is, what might you be carrying that you don't really need to be carrying with you right now? What are some of the maybe burdens or extra tasks that you aren't either needing to take on right now, or maybe are for someone else, better served someone else to be looking after them? So first we have the Hierophant. So you might be taking a very traditional stance. You might be thinking that you need to really focus on the way that things are done and always have been done in order to get things rolling. And this may be inviting you to take the lesson of, as we mentioned in the earlier or sort of orientation to this reading, releasing those mental binds. This 8 of Swords card, we see a woman who is holding a sheet to her body as she's sitting in this sort of cage of swords. So the swords talks about mental energy, and she seems to be trying to avoid showing her more vulnerable, unguarded aspect by sort of constructing this structure of the mind to protect herself. So in reverse, the lesson that you might be learning through this extra burden that you're taking on is releasing these mental burdens. And the unseen forces that are supporting you here, we have Justice. So Justice is speaks of balance, and also she's there we go. She's a card of balance. She's ruled by Libra. And so she's full of divine feminine, and a lot of what she talks about is karma. So the support that is in the background that you might not be fully aware of, but is there for you through this releasing these burdens that you don't need to be carrying, is you've got some effective karma that's coming up. Either you may have acquired some because maybe you, again, jumped ahead to something that you weren't quite ready for, or you've been working hard and taking on things that you don't really need to be fussing yourself about, and the fruits of your cause and effect will come to bear very soon. And finally, what are the outcomes of this? We have the Star in reverse. So we have a new spark of inner hope is how I would interpret this. We have the Star is a card that's also ruled by Aquarius. So you get this sort of flowing energy of the water pouring out infinitely. And Aquarius is all about being a revolutionary. So doing things differently. So quite differently to the energy of the Hierophant, which would be much more about doing things in the tried and true tested way. So we have the Star in reverse, which would mean to me in this reading that you are coming to release this expectation that you have to do things the sort of the normal, the expected way, and come into your own inner revolutionary spirit so that you can bring forth your own inner spark of truth and help you release these mental burdens that you've sort of built up around yourself. All right, so what are some bits of advice we can share with you for how to come into your fullest authentic self? What are the energies that support you in releasing these burdens that you're carrying that you don't need to be carrying, and to come into your full authenticity? So first, specification on where you are and what you can become. So we have the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. So the Queen of Pentacles, she's very earthy, she's motherly, she's a nurturer, and she's a combination of earth and water. So very grounded. But in reverse, that might mean that if you've got a lot of that sort of earthy, watery, like in Ayurveda, that would be more of the Kapha energy. Maybe it's time for you to kind of get up off the couch and get moving. Or it could be that you can begin to ground yourself internally. Again, different messages for different folks. So another clarification on what is going on with the lessons. I have the Five of Pentacles. So it could be that you are releasing these burdens to help you come into your own. The Five of Pentacles often talks about a sense of a perception of lack. So it could be that this limiting belief or this sort of mental burden that you have is some perception of lacking or scarcity. So it could be that you can be switching your opinion from this sense of scarcity to internal abundance that could then lead into external abundance. But also in this particular card, we have a woman who's in front of the camera and is sort of the star. So it could be that you're coming into your own sense of being your own guiding light. A star is born from you, doing things differently. All right, and then the other unseen factors that support you. Oh, wow, interesting. So we have Justice and the Wheel. But the Wheel is in reverse. So the Wheel is also a card that talks about karma, and it is ruled by Jupiter, so lots of luck in this particular card. So we've got it in reverse. So what it could also be indicating is that we haven't fully integrated the lessons of the karma that is currently being released. So maybe this is a cue to you to have a little bit more patience. The cycle is running in its own course. Things are happening in divine time. And you can trust the process. So it might feel really scary to be letting go of this sort of armor that you've built up around yourself, of these beliefs that are to deal with, you have to do things the expected traditional way. But if you can trust this process and let this karmic cycle take its course, it will release, and you'll find a brand new day. Internally, starting internally and then shining externally. And finally, the outcome, we have Temperance. Yep. Okay, so Temperance is another card that speaks of transmutation, of coming into your power. So we have another beautiful lady here, and she is formulating this sort of antidote in these goblets. So the goblets, the cups would be of your intuitive, your emotional body, coming in to transmute those things that seem to be maybe an illusion of scarcity, might be transforming into more of an awareness of abundance, and starting internally and then moving externally. Yeah, those are the messages I have for Temperance. And finally, what's the sort of background energy supporting you here? We have the Knave of Wands, or the Page of Wands. So this is an indication that in the background, what's going on is you have a spark of new energy that is shining forth. And it's also a combination of earth and earth. So this is all grounded energy. You're really being grounded into whatever it is. You're laying new plans, but you're not quite ready to bring them out into the open. Possibly you're just sort of at the point where you're planting some new seeds and waiting for them to start germinating. And we have the messages of the flowers that are also here to give you further guidance about how you can release whatever's going on for you in this reading, and then come into your full authenticity. So we have Sweet Asylum. Sweet Asylum. Clarity. So the bright paths of understanding will open. So yeah, this might again be indicating that there's something going on that you need to be a little bit more patient about. The justice and the karma is finding its resolution. You just need to keep the faith in and keep on going. We have white carnation, devotion. Be true and pure in your thoughts and deeds. Be true and pure in thought and deed. So again, devotion, being clear-minded and one-sided. So don't let the sort of fractured energies of, especially as you might be releasing things that aren't really serving you, come in and unravel the work that you're doing. Be patient and be devoted. Be one-minded and be very direct in what it is that you are pointing your thoughts at. And again, thoughts are things. Thoughts are extremely important. The things that you think will be creating the world that you are living in. So having this purity of thought will again help this karmic process to get you from this place of being stuck in the sense of having to do things the way they always have been done to finding a new inner revolution that can bring you into your next level up. And finally we have orange blossom, enthusiasm. The best can be here and believe in it. Yeah. Okay, so positive thinking is really important. It can be, especially if you're used to thinking in an old way that is a little bit more negative. It's like, oh yeah, positive thinking, etc. You guys go ahead and have your happy kumbaya thoughts, but I'm a realist. Yeah. I'm an earthy person. I watch how the world actually is, and I know how things are. But the thing is, it's true if you believe it's true. So the weird sort of paradoxical thing and coming into this ability to be the alchemist and the creator of your own reality, if you believe in the positive, you can bring out the positive. It's a funny little property of the universe, and we're very lucky to have that on our side. So if you can get yourself into this space of focusing on looking at the enthusiastic response, that will serve you quite well. And then finally, your words of healing wisdom: develop flexibility and aim to be in harmony in all environments. Right, so we might be in a space of being a little bit, again, rigid in our ways of having already done things in a particular way. And so this is inviting you to release that sense of like, it has to be done in this particular singular way that I've always done it up until now. And be a little bit more revolutionary about it. Be a little bit more revolutionary, yeah. So it's like, try something new. Baby steps. You don't have to, completely reinvent yourself overnight. It's just one foot in front of the other. And heck, it could even be that you should practice some more yoga. We have this theme around a part of the 8-limb path, which is a core part of yoga philosophy. So maybe you should drop into a yoga class. I will always preach about the benefits of yoga. So you certainly would be in good company if you decided to try that route. So group 1, that is the messages that I have for you today. Please let me know in the comments below if you think you know what this was about, and it'd be great to hear what this resonates for you. If this was really pinging something interesting for you and you really feel like it captured your vibe, maybe go ahead and give this video a like. And if it's really, really resonating strongly for you, really capturing your vibe, you might like to go ahead and subscribe, and then maybe click the bell to keep up to date on the evolution of this channel as it continues to grow. All right, thanks so much, group number 1. Now we're moving on to group number 2. Okay, group number 2. This is your reading. Messages for group number 2. That's group number 2 here with this orange nasturtium bloom. And if you've selected this yellower orange, that might also be an early indication that what is going on for you has to do with your inner light or your inner fire, your manipura, the gut, the powerhouse. So maybe you're feeling a bit low. Maybe you're feeling a bit, self-worth might be a little bit low, so that could be an early indication of what you might want to turn your attention to help with this first set of questions, which are looking at what are the burdens that you're bearing that you don't need to carry. What are you taking on that is not really yours to hold, and what might that be teaching you about yourself at this point in time? So for you, we are sitting in the place of the Empress, but in reverse. So the Empress, she's ruled by Venus. She's sort of the queen of light and love, full of nurturing energy. She's also very abundant, very fruitful. But here in this particular card, she's very earthy. She's covered in red, and she's also kind of in the dark, and she's got this eagle in the background, which I often take to indicate that she's got luck on her side. So the eagle is often associated with Jupiter, and Jupiter is associated with luck. So you've got this sort of divine feminine energy abounding, but supported by the luck of Jupiter. But in reverse, that might indicate that you are not fully taking in all of the lessons of your divine feminine aspect. So maybe you're blocking, or you're dealing with some issues of not really integrating your intuition, really only focusing on the external display, or perhaps you're worried that, if you're a feminine identifying individual, maybe you're worried that society doesn't really accept the way that you express your femininity. So this could be part of what's sticking around for you, that is coming up as a burden that you're bearing that you don't need to bear anymore. And what is the lesson being learned here? We have judgment. All right, so judgment is talking about developing your discernment, right? So we have this angel who's beckoning to these souls in the grave to arise and to basically come into their higher vibrational status. But here they're still stuck down in this sense of being in the earth, being buried, and they're begging for help, but they haven't quite figured out that the help that they need is coming from inside. So I also have a 20 here, so it's a double end of a cycle, and it's also number 2, so that's indicating growth and building. So it could be that you need, what the lesson that you're learning here is to develop your discernment. If someone's giving you guff about, like, you're not feminine in the right way, or you're not masculine in the right way, you're not yourself in the right way, well, you are the one who knows who you are, and you are the one who knows how to be yourself. So thank you, but no thank you. Your opinion is greatly appreciated, and then you just move on with your life. Again, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. You are the best expert on what is right for you. And that could be the lesson that you're learning with this judgment. The unseen energies that are supporting you, we have 3 of Pentacles. So you are creating your own creating your own definition of who you are. So it could be that you are definitely not the stereotypical person. And this could be something that you find a little bit difficult to accept all of yourself. You would like society to accept you, but you haven't quite accepted yourself yet. So this 3 of Pentacles is asking you to take that sort of beginning of balance that you've developed at the level of 2 and step it up and begin to take in your own expansion. And also, if you are a more artistic oriented person, and you're sort of, that's the way that you create your financial abundance, it could be that you're undervaluing yourself. And the unseen energies that support you are that you literally can charge more for what you're asking for, because if you don't stand up for yourself, no one else will. You got to be the one who starts it. And finally, what is the outcome? We have Knave of Chalices, or the Page of Cups. And this card is extremely watery. You can see how all the water in the sky in the background. But it's, we got some deep blues here, but a lot of light blue. So the light blue is associated with the Fishuru, or the throat chakra. So it could be, the outcome here is that you learn to speak your truth. We also have energies of earth and water, so it could be that you are sort of beginning to ground yourself a bit more, coming into your own, sort of rooting into that truth of who you are, and really beginning to live that wholeheartedly. All right, so those are the profile energies of what's going on for you and what you might be taking on as a burden that you don't really need to be bearing anymore. What advice do we have for you about how, group number 2, you can begin to release these things that you no longer need to be carrying and come into your full authentic self? So first, a clarification on this Empress in reverse. We have 3 of Chalices in reverse. So 3 of Chalices, this is a card that really speaks of having joyful time with friends, spending time with friends and having genuine, authentic camaraderie. But in reverse, might say that you possibly are blocking your blessings in this sense, like you are listening a bit too much to your friends, or maybe you're hanging around with friends who make you feel like your authentic self isn't good enough. You don't really need to have friends like that. You know, who needs enemies when you have friends like that? So it could be that one thing you might want to look into is assess those friendship relationships that you have in your immediate sphere and see if it might be time to start taking a step back and really focusing in on yourself and getting to know who you are and really accepting your authentic self so that you can bring into your life that vibe tribe, that group of people who will be a match for who you are and who will love you for who you are, because you are inherently lovable. You don't need to change yourself to be loved. All right, so another clarification on what's happening with Judgment here. We have 7 of Pentacles in upright position. So here we have someone who has been working very hard. It might be that you've been really working hard on yourself, but you're not quite ready to take that out into the mainstream. So here we have a person who's been cultivating this fruit of this tree, but it's not quite ready to be harvested. It's still sort of in the dark time of the year, the winter. So it could be that these things still are hanging around in the background, and it needs to be that you work internally before you take it out to the outside world. And that's part of how this discernment will come up for you, is that taking it slowly, taking it at its own pace, and allowing it to unfold in its own way rather than trying to control the process. And further clarification on the background energies that support you in coming into your authentic self. Ooh, we have the Chariot. All right, so Chariot often indicates that if you take vigorous action, that you will be successful. So it doesn't necessarily need to be that you are passive in this situation. This card is also ruled by Cancer, so that speaks of tapping into your intuition and also maybe mothering yourself, really being nurturing to yourself and to others, really tapping into that heart space for guidance. And then we finally have, what are the ultimate outcomes for you stepping into your authenticity? We have the 5 of Wands. 5 of Wands to me speaks of having that sort of energy of sparring, like it's almost like it's a battle, but it's not really a battle because it's like a training. So you're in a training phase, and all of this green and this imagery again speaks to me about bringing in that heart energy. So the ultimate outcome will be you're really training your heart up for being a bigger, more centered part of your life. All right. So what are, and the background energies are, very nice. So this is the sort of, everything is going on more in the foreground, even the background stuff, but the stuff that's really just like sitting in the back that's supporting you is this King of Pentacles. So he is the ultimate provider, the ultimate protector, the masculine, mature version of earthy abundance. So you've got someone, this could even indicate like an ancestor or someone in your spirit team, some divine masculine energy that's really supporting you and protecting you. So you are protected in this process. You can trust this process because you are protected. All right. Now we have some messages from the flowers that can help you release what's no longer serving you, let go of these burdens that you don't need to bear, and come into your full authentic self. We have Azalea. Temperance. Find balance and be centered. So if we look to temperance from the tarot deck, the group number 1 also had temperance, so it could be that you have found some connection with group 1 and group 2. Temperance is all about bringing together the illusion of positive and negative and realizing that they are the same thing, and turning those negatives into your positives to really begin transmuting those things, being the alchemist, being the real generator of your own experience. So looking for that balance and coming back to your center, coming back to your inner core, coming back to your inner, finding that authentic self and coming back to it because that's your home. We have Calla Lily, rejuvenation. So reawaken and then stand stronger. So that's a really interesting connection with the Judgment card here. So again, you might be invited to develop your discernment. But here we have sort of, if you've been feeling a bit drawn out, a bit over-exerted with this, maybe feeling like you've been dying, this is asking you to come into your rebirth, rejuvenate yourself, reawaken, and as you reawaken, you'll be stronger. And finally, we have Belladonna, silence. Listen more and quiet be. So this may be indicating that you've got some, it could be if this is a spirit support team member, maybe an ancestor, you're invited to come into your inner quiet. In yoga, that's pratyahara, or withdrawing of the senses, so you can meditate more and begin to let those internal voices, those voices of your true authentic self, pop forward more, and listen more to them and maybe less to the friends who might be misleading you to think that you're not good enough, because that's not true. And finally, your healing words of wisdom for group number 2 are know thyself. It is the most important task you have. Absolutely. So come into your quiet space and tap into that heart energy and be the expression of yourself that is true for yourself. Know thyself, that is in yoga, that is Ishvara, not Ishvara, it is Svadhyaya. Svadhyaya, which means self-knowledge. So as I said at the opening of this video, the messages will resonate differently for everyone. It's part of the reason why we have so many different philosophies, so many different practices, so many different metaphors, so many different stories, is because each one of them interacts with the person that you are in a unique way, and it will happen differently, it'll interact differently for you as you continue on your evolution. So the best way that you can find the thing that is right for you, you can find the thing that you don't need to be carrying around with you, is to practice this ability to get to know who you really are and be that unabashedly. Be your biggest, boldest self by being yourself bravely. All right, so those are my messages for group number 2. Group number 2, thank you so much for allowing me to guide you through these messages. And I thank you for joining us. If you found that this was pinging something for you, I'd love it if you'd leave a comment down below to let me know what's going on. I'd be really curious to hear what's going on. If this was beginning to really resonate for you, you might like to hit the like button. And if this was really hitting your vibe, you really think that this is your thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below, and maybe even hit the bell notification button so that you can keep up to date with how this channel continues to grow and evolve. Thank you so much, group number 2, and moving on to group number 3. Okay, group number 3. Group number 3. What messages do we have for you, group number 3, about what you may be carrying around that you don't need to be carrying, and how can you release it to become more of your true, authentic self? All right, group number 3. What are you carrying? What do you have as a burden that you're bearing that you don't need to bear anymore? So first we have what's going on for you. You're in a space where you are walking away from something. So this may be a thing that used to really fill you up, used to fill you with joy, but now you're noticing that maybe you've outgrown it, or it's somehow the situation has changed and it's no longer serving you, and so you're beginning to come to the space where you might be turning away from that thing. And the lesson that you have to learn from this is to come into your strength. So the Strength card is ruled by Durga in the Hindu pantheon, and I don't have any knowledge of formal Hindu philosophy other than what we get through yoga philosophy, but she is sort of that divine feminine version of Shiva, so she can be kind of scary because she doesn't take crap off anyone, and it could be that you've been in a space where someone is kind of giving you something that you don't need anymore, and so you're learning to step into your power, step into your strength, also ruled by Leo, so owning your own persona and being your own lion-hearted self. And the unseen energies that are supporting you are the King of Wands. So yeah, a lot of fire in this reading. So King of Wands is the masculine maturity of the fiery energy. So he is in full control of his energy. He knows exactly how much to expend, where to expend, how to expend it, and who to expend it on. And he's also supportive and grounded, but really ready and willing to take action as soon as necessary. So it could be that you are supported by this inner fire that's really bubbling forth. So it could be that whatever this thing that you've decided you might need to turn your back on is really getting you fired up, and that is supporting you. And finally, we have the ultimate outcome for you is the Knave of Pentacles. So the Page of Pentacles, the new direction in your physical reality. So it could be that there's a big physical change that's happening for you. Maybe it's that you're moving into a new physical space, or possibly taking on another career. Something big is changing in your physical space that's just beginning. So it's not quite ready to take action yet, but it's on its way. All right, so what advice do we have for group number 3 on how they can release whatever is going on for this burden that you're bearing? Maybe it's that you're not quite sure that this turning away is the right thing for you, and that is causing you a burden. So what can you do to release this thing that you don't need to be carrying anymore and come into your full authentic self? So first we have clarification on what's going on for you. Yep. So we have the 7 of Swords. So someone could have been doing some deception. Could be that this thing that you're turning your back on includes some kind of deceit. Maybe you were being strategic in this situation, and then you decided that that's not who you want to be anymore. Or it could be that someone was doing you dirty, and you found out about it, and you're thinking about leaving. So it could be that whatever it is, if you're dealing with someone who makes you feel less than worthy, first of all, it's good to remember that you are always the author of your own story. So you can have the ability to feel good about yourself regardless of what other people are doing. But if there's a particular person who's consistently making you feel like crap, could be time to walk away. Finally, and then we have clarification on this lesson that's going on for you. We have 6 of Pentacles. So what you might be learning, and this could be also linked to this new direction that you're taking in your physical existence, we have 6 of Pentacles. Speaking of generosity here. So you're coming into your full financial abundance, but you're able to look back at, maybe this is who you feel like you could be today, but this is who you're going to be once you step into your authentic self. And looking back to that space of others that you can recognize where they are because you've been there yourself, and also looking back with generosity to your former self. Like you needed to learn whatever happened here. You needed to learn that, and so like be kind to yourself. Like you weren't a fool for doing that. You weren't wrong for doing what you were doing. You did what you thought was right at the time. Again, maybe if it is something that you were trying to be a bit strategic about, you needed to learn that lesson. So embrace that, be kind to yourself, be kind to the memory of who you were, and be kind to the people who you recognize, oh, I used to be that person. And the unseen energies supporting you, clarification on this, we have the moon in reverse. So I really love this card. I'm a Cancer rising, so this feels like me to a T. And also we got Artemis here, so I love me some Artemis. So we have intuition, we have lots of water energy. Could be that the moon cycles are in support of you, but we have this in reverse. So maybe there was some maybe even like hormonal, emotional cycling things that were going on for you that are being released. Could be useful for you to tap into the moon cycles if you're doing any kind of active manifestation process. If you don't know about doing your manifestations along with the moon can be very supportive of that. We also have the solar cycle that's happening. So again, one of the energies that inspires this particular reading at this time is that it's the solar solstice, the summer solstice where I live. So it could be that the sun is actually what's really embracing you right now. So turning that mothering energy of Cancer inward, coming back to your inner home and really growing yourself. So maybe whatever's happening here that you're deciding you might need to turn your back on it was something that you felt was very nurturing at the time, and you may be a little bit concerned about, oh, how do I leave this behind? This is my whole world. You're your whole world. Nurture yourself, mother yourself. That's how you get through this. And we have the ultimate outcome. All right, beautiful. So we have 6 of chalices. So your inner child is going to be nourished by whatever this decision is. It could even be that you have actual children. So whatever decision you come forth with from whatever may be coming up through this reading for you, you're going to be making the decision that is in support of your inner child and your living children. So your true authentic self is that inner child, that inner innocence, coming up into a more mature, less naive sense of that innocence, but not needing to put on this shell of being, the crab. You can still be pure and innocent and open without being attacked. You can trust yourself because you've developed your inner strength. You have the discernment. You learned the lessons that you needed to learn here. And you can make the best choice for yourself and your family to lead to a well-rounded, well-supported inner child and possibly real living children, external children. Finally, we have in the background energy supporting you, we have the Queen of Swords in reverse. So the Queen of Swords, she is the feminine, mature version of the mind. So she's the combination of both air and water. So got this sort of misty aura about her. And she knows what she's about. She does her research. She knows her own mind. And so putting this in reverse could be that you have been the Queen of Swords. So the other thing about the Queen of Swords, when she's in reverse, she can be quite cold, maybe a little bit, not a very pleasant woman to be around. So the background energy here for you might be that whatever's happened here has made you feel quite defensive and makes you question your ability to trust whether you do in fact know your own mind. So whatever decision you make will be in support of you coming into that ability to trust yourself and trust that you do know your mind. You do know what you're about. And you don't need anyone else to tell you because it's coming from within you. And what do we have of messages of the flowers that can support our group number 3? We have status, adaptation. All right, interesting. Change will be better than you think. So what this burden that might be coming up for you Could be that you're afraid of the change that would be involved in turning your back on this thing that isn't serving you anymore. So remain adaptive, remain flexible. In evolutionary terms, things that don't adapt die out. You can always take that choice. Whatever choice you make will be correct for you as you need to be. It might not feel very great for your 3D self, but for your higher self, you're always learning what you need to be learning. So being able to take that more adaptive mindset and letting yourself roll with the things that come at you will be of good service to you. We have cactus flower endurance. Hold on, you can do this. Trust yourself. Come into your inner strength. You can do this. It might not be a pleasant road, but it'll be worth it, because that inner child support will be, and again, maybe external child support will be worth it. And then we have foxglove, confidence. Be what you want to see. Be confident. Step into that Leo energy. You got this. You know what you need to do. You know what you need to do. Trust yourself. You learned what you needed to learn. And finally, we have, what are the messages of healing wisdom to share with group number 3? Practice speaking positively about other people and events, especially the future. Yeah, again, this is something came up for another group. It might be that you're in a space where you're really sitting in that space of doubt. You're feeling this sense of burden. You don't quite know how things are going to turn out. The funny thing about this universe is that we tend to make our reality by what we think, but thoughts are things. So the way that you speak is sort of an amplification on the thoughts that you have. So we have the wisdom of Lao Tzu, who's relevant here. So mind your thoughts because they become your words. Mind your words because they become your actions. Mind your actions because they become your habits. Mind your habits because they become your destiny. So keep that high vibrational as much as possible. If you notice yourself getting into speaking poorly, especially of whoever else might be involved in this situation, let it go. You don't need to gossip about it. You don't need to beat yourself up about it, and you don't need to speak down about them. They were learning what they need to learn too. You got this. You're going to make it. And you're going to make it because you're going to make it what you need it to be. All right. These are the messages that I have for group number 3. Thank you so much, group number 3, for letting me be your guide through these messages. If you have an idea about what this is talking about, I'd love to hear about it. Have a share it in the comment section below. If this was really pinging something for you, it felt like it was resonating, you might like to hit the like. And if this is really hitting your vibe, you're really all about this, you might want to hit the subscribe and maybe even the bell notification button to keep up to date as this channel continues to evolve. Thank you so much for taking the time to let me bring these messages to you, and for honoring yourself for receiving these messages, because they found you for a reason. I hope to see you again very soon, and until then, as always, go in peace to love and to serve. Namaste.